and they thought they would do a full feature-length film on the story of how Kevin made the movie Clerks. So I'm giving you a really long-winded version of it, but that's what the film is. The script went through many changes, and very many different cast people were coming in and out. And Brian O'Halloran's in it, Marilyn Ghigliotti's in it, Jay Muse, I believe. I'm not sure. I know Kevin pops in it. Vincent Pereira pops in. Brian Johnson. The comic book men pop in. There's a lot of people from Kevin's real world and from the first Clerks who also pop in and have cameos. I eventually ended up getting the role of Kevin's father, which was really a sweet and amazing thing for me to get to do. I didn't know Kevin's dad. Oddly enough, there is a little bit of a resemblance between us with the goatee and the facial hair, and sort of the overall look is not that much of a stretch per se. And he's not a very big on-screen character in shooting Clerks, but he's a very important character in Kevin's life, and he's a big part of that story. So it was a real honor, and I can't speak highly enough about those guys either. They did an amazing job, and it was a real passion project. They didn't have a ton of money, but they had Kevin's blessings, and they got a bunch of us from the original to do cameos. And
well, that sounds like a lot of fun. You know what that reminds me of? You know what it kind of sounds like? It sounds like almost like a different version of what was that Tom Hanks movie? Saving Mr. Banks. Saving Mr. Banks. That's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Really? Maybe
not so far off, really. Yeah.
Yeah. It would. Another example, the same kind of thing. Good call, Kyle. Good call.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd make a great double feature with Ed Wood.
Oh man, that's funny. You know, I love Ed Wood. It's one of my all-time favorite films. I think what they did with shooting Clerks and the guys that were involved, because they really have a genuine love and respect and affection for Kevin and his whole wacky world. They didn't over-glamorize it in any way, but they made sure to try to stay as close to the truth as possible, and they embellished little things here and there. But it really is a sweet movie. It has a lot of heart. I mean, when we screened it down in Atlantic Highlands, Kevin was there, and I know he had teared up, and it was really sweet to see that and be a part of it. I mean, never did any of us dream, not only would the movie last as long as it did and touch so many people, but that someday a whole nother crew of young filmmakers would want to make a film about how that film was made and actually cast actors playing actors. It's really like a crazy loop.
Yeah, it's very meta.
Yeah.
It's actually very meta.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
So, well, I actually, we have not seen it yet. We do want to see it when it comes out. We're looking forward to it. So, we're really excited about it.
We'll be there with bells on.
Yes, definitely. Great. So, Scott, thank you so much for taking time out tonight. This was a lot of fun, and actually a pleasure for us. So, this is really cool.
Oh, you're totally welcome. Thanks, guys. Enjoy and keep me posted. And I'm curious to hear some of the other bits. It's such an interesting concept to me. I know you had a lot of fun with Marilyn, or you will, or you have. I'm not sure. I'm sure at some point, if you reach out, you could probably get Brian O'Halloran on board. He's hard to get a hold of. He's a super busy guy, but he loves to do these things.
We'll have a lot of fun with American. Did have a lot of fun with Marilyn. It's like a Doctor Who recording out of order. It's like a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
Yes,
that's awesome.
So let me just get our plugs in, and then we'll sign off out of here. Our show, Filling the Void Podcast Network. Find us on Spreaker and iHeartRadio and all over the place. We're now on also TuneIn Radio and other locations such as that. We are part of the Movies by Minute family, moviesbyminute.com, and thank you to the guys over at Star Wars Minute, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here, because they thought of this idea. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're at Clerks Minute everywhere. And thank you all for listening.
I just got to say something. I just realized the guys at Star Wars Minute, they're the Richard Linklater to our Kevin Smith.
That's a weird way of looking at it. You're absolutely right.
Their podcast is the Slacker to our Clerks.
Hey, that's a great way of putting it, and we'll have to tell them that when they come on the show for Star Wars Week, because both of those guys are coming on it for Star Wars Week soon. So there you go. It's going to be a weird moment. So Scott, why don't you give some plugs out for you?
I've got, well, other than shooting Clerks, which we're all looking forward to being available on in a wider spectrum, I shot a sequel to a horror film, and the sequel's called Darkness Waits, and the original was Dead Woman's Hollow. I'm excited about that. It's an indie horror film that got a lot of nice response, so they put together a sequel. So keep your eye out on that. I'm very easy to get a hold of on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Keeping busy with lots of projects always. And I thank you guys for reaching out, and I had a really fun time.
No problem. Till next time, thank you for joining us here on Clerks Minute. I'm Blake.
I'm Kyle.
Have a good day, everybody.
And our love for you is like a truck, berserker.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Clerks Minute, the show where we break down the 94 Kevin Smith classic, one Rick Derris minute at a time. I'm Blake.
I'm Kyle.
And on the line today, we have a very special celebrity guest, one of the stars of our minute on the screen right now, Rick Derris himself, Ernie O'Donnell. Ernie, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How's everybody out there?
Pretty good. We are obviously watching Clerks minute by minute. Before I even get into what's going on here, what do you think of the format of our show? We had Marilyn and we've had Scott on, and what do you think of the format of our show?
I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, I like that you're breaking down the movie minute by minute. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that, and actually, I could take a while if you're ever at any of Kevin's Q&As. When he breaks something down, it usually takes about 3 hours a minute. So,
we've been to one of his Q&As. We completely get it.
Yeah.
So,
but it's good stuff.
Yeah. So let's get started here. Well, let's go back to your history with this movie. Obviously, back when you started this movie, what were you thinking when Kevin came up to you and said, "I want to do Clerks"?
And I mean, obviously, I knew Kevin was a brilliant writer from working with him since, grammar school and high school and stuff like that. And then when he went off to film school, he called me from Vancouver and said that he had a script that he wanted me to read. So I said, all right, well, get it to me. So he actually came back here, handed me the script. I read it. And to be honest, nothing like that had never really been done before, especially to that level of the way our generation spoke. So to me, initially, since we both grew up Catholic, I found it to be a great story, awesome characters. But to me, I thought he was going to get like an X rating because of the vulgarity and the subject matter. So that was a concern of mine initially. But as far as the story and the writing style, I thought it was brilliant.
Well, I know you were originally going to be playing Dante. Tell the people that don't know what happened with that.
That's kind of a tricky situation. I mean, Kevin wrote the part of Dante for me originally, with me in mind. And I think basically I'm not going to get into all the messy details, but basically what it comes down to, from what I think, is that I think he envisioned me as Dante, knowing that he had acted with me before, and knew that I could pull it off. But I think when he saw Brian O'Halloran in that audition, I think something clicked in his head, and he was like, you know what? This guy's really Dante. And, I never really got the shot to show him what I would do with Dante. But at the end of the day, he made the right choice with Brian, because Brian just, nailed that character as far as, what he was. I mean, I would have brought something totally different to Dante, meaning that I don't want to use the word sappy for the character. I would have been a little bit more swag as far as Dante, I think. And I don't think that's what Kevin was looking for.
Yeah, that definitely does change the entire Dante character. Am I right, Kyle?
Yeah, it would actually make more sense as to what women see in him.
A valid point. Yeah, a very valid point. It is funny because we're talking to, for those listening, we're actually talking to Ernie on a video line on Google Hangouts, and we have the movie up on the screen, and it's such a younger version of you on the right side of our screen here. It is pretty funny.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
Well, I'm not saying anything negative. I'm just saying we're all younger. We were all younger in the 90s.
Yes, we were.
So I'm not gonna say anything negative there. But take us behind the fact that you ended up becoming Rick Derris. How did that happen? That's one of my favorite roles in this movie. It made me laugh.
Well, when he decided to tell me that he was going to give the role to Brian O'Halloran, my first thought was, well, I went through a couple lists of characters. I said, well, am I going to play Jay? Am I going to play Bob? Am I going to play this one? And he's like, no, you're going to play Derris. And I was kind of like, Derris? And he goes, yeah. He's like, that's you. And I was like, okay, I get it. You know, because it's kind of pompous and cocky. And I was always with the ladies when we were growing up in high school and in grammar school. So I get it where he came from with that. But I mean, I had a blast playing that character. I nailed everything in one shot. It was all one take. I showed up in costume. He didn't tell me what to wear. I actually showed up with some sort of setup, and he loved it. And we shot my stuff really quick, and it was really cool.
Well, I would love to know, I've asked this with other people on here, what's it like to work with Kevin and in the director's chair? I mean, that's got to be interesting as his friend.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on a lot of films with Kevin, you know, as far as, you know, Jersey Girl and Red State and Jay and Bob Strike Back, Dogma. And I have even visited the set of him on, you know, other movies. And his style is like no other. The whole crew is very comfortable with him. He lets people do their job. And I don't think I've ever seen Kevin admonish anybody in a negative way on set. He always does things when he wants to address things, if something's wrong, in a really great fashion to make everybody feel positive. And, you know, not like, he's never a dickhead. You know what I'm saying? He's always really great. And the craft services were always the best on Kevin's films. Always.
That's funny. That's actually... It was funny. I think Scott might have said the exact same joke when he was on here.
Yeah. He's very big in taking care of the crew and keep getting out of their way and letting them do their job. And that's, you know, and as far as the actors, he lets the actors breathe and do their thing too. I mean, of course, they have to stick to the word on the page. Kevin's infamous for that. But he writes brilliantly, so why shouldn't you?
Well, it's funny. We were actually doing a different minute earlier today, and we were actually noticing that the only edits we were seeing in the script, because we have the script up from dailyscript.com for those who want to follow along with us. And I have the script up, and I follow along, and the only edits we've seen is more cursing. We've been laughing about that as we've gone along in the movie. And the only time people ever ad-lib is just add more cursing.
Yeah, all the way from grammar school and high school, all the comedy sketches that we did, all the plays that we did, and anything original that me, him, and Mike Bellicose had did in our original comedy troupe, I would give ideas. Kevin would write it. Ultimately, it would become Kevin's script, and he hated when I deviated from that. And the thing was, we would never rehearse. Like, we would learn it, and what you got on stage was the first time that you ever saw what we were doing.
Wow.
So sometimes I would elaborate a little bit on some lines, and when I got off stage, Kev would be like, "What the hell are you doing? You're not supposed to say that." He knew every word.
Of course.
He's like, "You messed that line up." I said, "I didn't mess it up. It just I changed it a little bit." So that's been like that since 1980, 85, 86. He's been like that.
Wow, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's funny because we always hear about that. I think it's on the documentary. It's a joke on the documentary about how Kevin is like that with the scripts. So What can you actually tell us behind the scenes about Kevin as a human being, as a friend? Because you're probably the closest we've had on here to how close to Kevin in history and everybody else. How is